You've heard me tell the story earlier of when my mom almost got killed, and I became involved with the Southeast Regional NAACP under Ms Ruby Hurley. You would have thought that she took me to this great dynamic place so that I could start working. But this is where she got me. This is where my first meeting of the NAACP took place at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. This is the Atlanta prison. Federal prison. Yeah. I'm telling you, there was something behind the NAACP branches and the NAACP prison branches. We were mighty powerful in the prison system. When the mill, Whittier Mill, shut down, they moved the prison over here to the federal prison. The prisoners worked the mill. So my first meeting was with, had to be 700 men in that meeting with Ruby Hurley. And maybe 2 or 3 of us other women. It wasn't too many of us that were women involved in the prisons. Okay, because our prisons was full of our men. Jeremiah Butler, Alan Cater Sr. We would set up programs right over here. Baseball programs, activity. At this prison is where the first NAACP GED program began. I didn't have the education to do it, but I had the know-how. Thanks to Prince Elder Julian G. I needed a teacher to teach the classes. And Elder Mother Jessie May Taylor. See, you didn't get paid for doing volunteer work and civil rights work back then. Mother Jessie May Taylor came into this prison right here and taught GED. That was before judges was ordering the GED program. She was already teaching. She was from Kennesaw, Georgia. She was the first African American school teacher up in the Kennesaw area near McCollins Airport. She would drive all the way from there down here and teach that class for me. We would go in here. Now I'm going to tell y'all, you can take it for whatever you want to take it for. You want to see some singing inmates. You want to see some talented inmates. I guess they're so brilliant. Maybe that's what got them here. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something. This is where we started at this prison right here. This is where we began the NAACP Atlanta Federal Prison branch. And I went from the Atlanta Federal Prison into Hartwick, into Noonan, and right here in the back of us, where this store is now sitting, was the Emmaus house, a Catholic house. I think the Emmaus were Catholic, with Loki, some of our friends over in North Carolina that was dear to my sister. They love Linnell. And they did, had the buses going into the prison to do the Reunited program with children and their parents. We would go into, I'm telling you, the people put the money out there, okay, for churches to get them programs into the prison system. I was right out of high school. When I went into that federal prison right there. When I stepped into that meeting, y'all, I was a scared little girl. That Ms Ruby Hurley was a powerful woman. And this is where she brought me. She brought me to where they shut the mill down at for unsafe practices and brought it back in here, which was unsafe practices for prisoners. That's what it was. We would go to banquets, we would go to dinners, we would go to all kinds of events in this prison right here. I mean, you want to see talent? Those that can play the organs, sing the songs, they were in our prisons. That's where they were. I went from Atlanta Federal Prison to Reedsville, Georgia. And you could have no fear, okay? Because it was all about going into the prisons to reform. Miss Matthews, so many of them. I wanted to be a lobbyist after Frances Polly. Oh, powerful women, powerful lobbyists. Yes, powerful lobbyists. Yes, yes. And I still think that I just don't remember thinking black and white too much. But I guess I left that all up to Ms. Hurley to think about what we were to do. My job was to carry programs. And when I say, I want to add this, when I say that as far as awards, as far as books, as far as, I don't know the book. I don't know where to start a book. Do I start it here at the prison? Do I start it with housing? Do I start it with the KKK? Do I start it with banking, economic and development? I really don't know where you started at. That's how much we worked. That's how much we gave of our time, our energy on redevelopment, getting these doors open. And when I tell people, most folks don't think that I'm as old as I am. And when I tell them, I'm kind of tired. I'm not interested in going all to those places, doing all that over again. Although I had a good life, and although I enjoyed what I did, it was a lot of work here. It was a lot of work walking these halls, doing this work on print. Did y'all know it's a lot of prisoners in the state of Georgia? So when I think of Dr. Martin Luther King, when I think of Wayman with the grassroots group, When I think of politicians, when I think of elected officials, when I think of my past work, I'm mighty blessed and highly favored. I've been with some fine folks. I've been with some great people. I've seen some great programs. Thanks to Ms Hurley. Thanks to Earl Shinholt. So when it came down to writing some of these programs, when it came down to dealing with what we call poor people's rights, it was all poor people's rights. White, black, didn't matter what color you were. Okay, when we dealt with civil rights, we dealt with civil rights. When we dealt with civil rights, we dealt with civil rights. When we walked into those programs, and when I tell you that I worked with all churches, all denominations, yes, the Catholic, the Methodist, the Baptist, the Holiness, the Pentecostal. Oh yes, it was Triumph Church, the Church and Kingdom of God in Christ that went in that building. One lady that had a teaching degree, Jessie May Taylor. That's all I needed, women. I needed one that would donate her time and teach them programs. And now all across our nation, judges are saying, judges are ordering. Before you get out of prison, you got to have your GED. You have to, but this is where it started at. It's with the Southeast Regional NAACP. This is where GED started. Get your education. Education has always been the root. Education has always been the story. Education has, in the prisons, education was important. Out of the prison. So when I read the papers of Dr. Martin Luther King, when I read Brown versus education, all those lawsuits that I'm not educated in, I understand. I understand. I understand. I understand. I understand the power of my family, the Scott family. Yes, it's not knowing my heritage name, my roots name to get something out of it. It's I know where I came from. I know what my great-grandfather and those people gave back to society. I know what Dr. King, Coretta, Joseph Lowry, the SCLC, the NAACP. See, it's better you go that route, calling those organizations names, because we worked organizations. Yes. Yes. And I guess because I learned that my great-grandfather had 20 children. My daddy and my mom must have been, we always said my daddy, but Lord have mercy, my mom was his root. Okay, my mom had 14 children. They were into those children. And so, as I end, just showing my granddaughter some of the civil rights struggles and fights and accomplishments, and how so many gave of themselves, like my mom, for others to have and be educated, for others to have another chance. I like it when they're saying some of these little petty crimes, don't put these big old felonies where these folks can't get no jobs on their name. Let's help. Okay, And to me, all it's doing is turning the clocks back. They talk the talk, but we didn't walk all the walk. Okay, now you got a more excellent walk where they're walking the walk, where that you can uh, um, at least have a little hope. I am so honored to, you know, to work in a law enforcement agency. I am. Okay, that's where our struggle began. Not that I get praise, not that I get this or that or the glory or this, but that we help somebody. The theme used to always be, Lord, help us to help somebody. And I didn't used to so much believe, well, all of them couldn't have been oppressed to just force them into this and into that and into this and so. But it's the prayers of them old mothers and the righteous and those mothers. Y'all, the people we were carrying up and down the road was them mothers praying for them sons. Yeah, you got tons of men in prison over the women. Yes, yes. Praying for them, another chance, another opportunity. And that's what Ms. Hurley took me in there to do. God knew that 2021 would come. God knew that 2021 would come, where many of us couldn't breathe. Where many of us, it may have been a $20 check that somebody put their foot on your neck over and just decided, I'm going to take you to the limit. I'm going to destroy you, hell over high water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is where Ruby Hurley brought me to a scared little girl that from 1972 all the way up to now, I'm still doing it. I'm still working with the chaplaincy of the Georgia State Prisons. Yes. Yes. So it's a lot of work in it. But this is where my mother's life led me to. When they saved her life from that tanker that could have blew her up, that it could have been her within 1 minute that got burned up under that tanker for fighting for the rights and the life of workers working in unsafe working conditions. Mm-hmm. In the daytime, if you was out here, you could see the chimney right there. The chimney is the chimney is over there where that light is. That's where the chimney is when them infirmaries are going up and working and that smoke is coming out. Mm-hmm. You see the pretty part of the building. This is the beautiful side of the building. That you better not step up to them gates. Go around those gates. Yes. And I've seen many, many Muslims. When I walked into that meeting, it was men. Yes, those were the men that was getting themselves together, fighting for the civil rights. Really, we need to take the chapters back into the prisons. Yes. I believe this is only me. The only hope right now is that strong presence of teachable Muslims that are teaching them a new way, not fighting. I'm not talking about fighting. Yes. I've seen many in the prison system, and I've seen many protect me in the prison system. Yeah, they got gangs in there. I can remember when they burned it up too. I can remember when Hispanics felt they were being untreated fairly and burnt that building right there that you're looking at. Fire was coming out of every side. I know it was coming out of the front side of it. So as I tell my granddaughters and as I tell my grandsons the stories, there's more to life than just getting for yourself. Life is about helping one another too. Now, make sure you're in position to help, okay? Because you got to walk the walk. You got to talk the talk. You got to walk that chalk line. You can't be sold under the tables. Cannot be sold under the tables. You cannot wheel and deal under the table and then and be the saint over the table. No, them dirty hands. You got to walk the chalk line. And that's what Grandma had to do. I had so many strenuous jobs that the one thing that I remember in my head from Earl Shinholster, it started with Robert Flanagan, started with Ms Hurley. Don't party with nobody. Don't party with nobody. Because if you, as Dr. Harris T. Travis said, if you ever be bought, you can always be sold. Oh yes. So partying wasn't the name of the game. Because that's what'll end you up in the federal prison and in the state prison and in the prison system. So as I end, telling you where the plant moved to after they closed Whittier Mill down. Yes. They always gonna have a 10-year plan to tell you where it's gonna go. So I'm honored to walk the walk that I walk. I'm honored to have worked in civil rights. I am. I'm mighty blessed and highly favored. Yes. To have walked that walk in civil rights. To have volunteered in this prison system, in this Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. So many people ask me, how does mamas come to me, daddies come to me, families come to me. Everybody got somebody that like what Judge Rutherford said. Judge Rutherford said, if you say that nobody in your family ain't never been in trouble, you lie. Because somebody in everybody's family done had something. So I'm glad to see the programs, the veterans programs, the mental health programs. I'm glad to see it ain't just one race of people that study to educate themselves on all these programs. Many. So to my granddaughter, my grandchildren, history is very important. And Grandma has worked a lot. Grandma has volunteered a lot. And I'm thankful. I've learned some prominent people. I've learned some people with money that have put their money behind their walk to helping others. And when I say that term, Lord help us to help somebody, I've met folks that have helped somebody. So you be blessed. And until the next history session.